Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Farming Simulator 22 and we're doing another conversion video. So this one is going to be using 4 mods to add in a full range of Case tractors from the early to mid 80s. So this will be everything prior to when Case's parent company purchased International Harvester and merged the two brands. So that's why you're noticing the distinct white coloration with the orange and then red underbody. So yeah, this is a pretty solid lineup we've got here. I believe we have 13 tractors, all the way from 95 horsepower, I believe, up to 300 horsepower. And we get a fun fact about our big four-wheel drive cases that we'll get to when we're showing them. That makes them a lot more unique than most of the four-wheel drives that we're running around at this time. So, very, very solid lineup. I'm excited to get into it. But before we get into all of that, I just want to let you know I have a real-life farming channel. I would love it if you could check it out. I'll have it pinned in the description and hopefully in a pinned comment. It's where I do real life farming stuff on my farm. I think the content is for the most part fairly well done and pretty entertaining, and I think if you like farming stuff, you'll probably like it. So definitely check that out if you get the chance and you're interested. And of course, if you see something you like, subscribe to the channel. I'd be tickled pink if you did that. But before we dive into all of the stuff that we're looking at today for these mods, just a little history about Case. So Case tractors have a history that dates back to 1842 when Jerome Increase Case founded the Racine Threshing Machine Works in Racine, Wisconsin. Case's first thresher, the groundhog thresher, was faster than farmers had previously used, and Case's company became a major producer of threshing machines and other harvesting equipment. In the late 19th century, Case was also one of the largest builders of steam engines in the United States, including self-propelled portable engines, traction engines, and steam tractors. In 1869, Case produced its first steam engine tractor, which was wheel-mounted but still drawn by horses and used to power other machines. In the 1950s, Case began selling a line of tractors that had been introduced a decade earlier, and over the next 20 years, they developed and introduced 4 new tractor series. Case has remained an industry leader in production and innovation over the years, and today Case IH is one of the largest farm equipment makers in the world. So Case was a historic brand, like most of the brands we've looked at in this series so far, that had a long lineage of agricultural equipment in the United States. It wasn't until the financial problems, especially in the agricultural world of the late 70s and early 80s, that Case really started to stumble, and that was seen in quality, performance, and production. And eventually, their parent company would purchase International Harvester in 1985 and merge the two brands, pretty much eliminating most of the Case lineage. Some of the tractors in the next decade or so still had some Case technology worked into them, but it became mostly International Harvester, or within about 2 decades, mostly New Holland. But all of that is for a different video, I would suppose. Probably something a little bit more historical. For today, we're just taking a look at this excellent lineup of tractors in Farming Simulator 22. And so just going down the line from, well, not quite smallest to largest because I keep them in series, but pretty close to that. We have the 970, and we went with the Agri King version so we could have that iconic orange underbelly and white sheet metal, and I'll show you the different options when we get into the mod menu. But here's our 970, our 1070, our 1170, 1175, 1570, our 2090, our 2290, our 2390, our 2590, our 4490, 2470, 2670, and 2870. So that is our full lineup of our mid to late 80s Case tractors prior to the International Harvester merger slash buyout. So if we go into our mod menu, you can see that none of these exist in the large tractor frame, even our big four-wheel drive ones. They're all in the medium, so most of them are in the small range. And these mods are a little bit more sloppy than I would like, but it's because Case just did not have that distinctive an identity and constantly changed. And so there's various different versions of the exact same tractor model. Like I said, one thing Case was not known for was innovating and changing. They basically figured one thing out and stuck with it for a while, even if it was sloppy and outdated by the time that they finally upgraded it. So we have just a wide slew of stuff. First of all, you can see we even have some versions where after the merger, they still had basically just a repainted Case tractor after, they'd paint it red and brand it Case IH. So that's the 2294. It's a 1984 model. In 88, they just painted it red. So we have various things like that, but we're just going to focus on the white stuff. And I also avoided these, the black and white ones, just because the mod doesn't seem to have developed them quite as well, but they're basically the same thing. So you can see we have the 1984 2094 and the 1984 2294. They're basically the same thing as the 1984 2090 and 1984 2290. They have the same horsepower, same pretty much everything. So if you compare the 2090, which has 127 horsepower, to the 2094, it also has 127 horsepower. So you could go with these if you like the way they look better. I wanted to keep everything as consistent as possible, so I went with the earlier looking kind with the white, black stripe, red underbelly. So we have those ones. But just starting from the bottom, or bottom-ish, I started with the Case 70 small frame open station series, and these range from 95 to 135 horsepower. So in here you can see there's different options. So for the 970 small frame, we have the tannish color that Case had before the white color with the same red undercarriage. Then we have the 970 King, which gives us that white, which is the one I went with. Then we have the 1070, which moves it up to 112 horsepower, and the 1070 King. The 1170 at 135 horsepower, the 1170 King, and the 1175 and 1175 King with 135 horsepower. These tractors all have the same options. Got Lizard tires, Firestone tires, Goodyear. Those are the three options. Then we have a couple different wheel setups. We have tri-rib, floaters, tri-rib duals, tri-rib or floater duals. And so those are the four options for tires. We have weights or no weights, stock exhaust or chrome exhaust, radio or no radio. It just puts the fender mounted radio. And then we have a front loader attacher option. So that is it for all of the open series. So like I said, those go from 135 at the biggest with the 1175 to 95 with the 970. Then we also have the same tractors, so the 95 to 135 range, but these ones just have cabs. So it's exactly the same stuff, other than the fact that these ones are all cab mounted. Then we have the slightly larger 70 series, so open station and cab again. So if we start with the open station, this time we see the Black Knight version. So I don't know if anyone remembers this, but for a little while there, Case tried to make their premium branded one. It was basically the same thing, but had the black and gold styling on it. So some people really liked them because they thought they were snazzy. But there we have the 1170 Black Knight with 135 horsepower, the 1370 with the standard old Case styling with 158 horsepower, and the 1570 with our white and red with 200 horsepower, and that's the one that we bought. Of course, then you also have the same ones with cabs. So we have that 1170 Black Knight with a cab, 135, 1370 tan with the 158 horsepower, and the 1570 with 200 horsepower. And again, pretty much same options again. We have the tri-rib, floaters, tri-rib duals, floater duals, weights or no weights, stock exhaust or chrome exhaust. This time we get a CB radio option and same front loader attachment. And so that's it for our 70s series. So like I said, pretty scattered all over the place with those four, but a solid smattering of options all the way from 95 up to 200 horsepower. Then we move into our 90 series, and that's where, like I said, we have most of the other tractors that we purchased here. So we have the smaller one, which is the 2090 at 127 horsepower, and the larger one, which is the 2290 at 154 horsepower. These have exactly the same options as each other, so we'll just look at one. So the quad-rib singles for the tires, quad-rib row crop duals, quad-rib duals, tri-rib singles, tri-rib row crop dual, tri-rib duals. And then we get the same options but silver. So I kept it with the stock, so we kept the orange ribs. Then we have weights or no weights, or actually we have weights, light weights, medium weights, or full weights. And then we get mirrors and fenders, various options there. And then like before, we have an option for a front loader attacher. And then for the 94 series, which I did include, but I don't have in my lineup just because they're basically the same thing. Like I said, I included them in the video and the mod description just in case you like them more. But we have the same thing. We get a 127 horsepower option and a 154 horsepower option. Again, these ones just don't have a lot of customization options. If you like the slightly more modern look, then I could understand going with them. But we have singles, duals, turf, or duals turf. So those are all the options that you get with the 94 series. And then, like I said, they have the rebranded red painted one that they branded as Case IH, but it's literally the exact same thing. And moving into the medium tractors, we have more of our 90 and 94 series. So starting with the 90 series, which I purchased, we have a 197 horsepower version and a 217 version. So here's our 197 version. Again, these are exactly the same options for each of them. Quad-rib singles, quad-rib row crop duals, quad-rib duals, tri-rib singles, tri-rib row crop duals, tri-rib duals. Weights, light weights, medium weights, full weights, and then same, just mirror and fender options. And so like I said, both of those for the larger 90 series have the same option. We once again have the rebranded Case IH ones where they just painted it red, and here we have our 94 series. So again, same exact options, have 197 horsepower and a 217 horsepower option, and just the tires are all you can customize with these. So like I said, you can go more modern if you want. I don't hate them. I just liked that the other ones were more consistent with all the rest of the tractors I have in the lineup and had more customization options. So the 94 series works just as good. Then for our largest tractors in the lineup, we have the Traction King series, interestingly branded as Case I8. The interesting thing about that is this is one of the few things Case had that stood out from pretty much every other brand. Their big four-wheel drive tractors were not articulated. Most of your brands had a behind-the-cab articulation system. International Harvester's mainline articulated ones were their 2+2 series, which is where it was articulated in front of the cab. Case had a non-articulated big four-wheel drive tractor. They, in fact, had crab steering, which is a great idea in concept, but the way that Case did it led to a bunch of mechanical problems. So they just weren't as reliable, but they were way better and easier to use in the field because of the fact that they didn't articulate. And I'll show you that when we're driving it. But basically, we have four models here. We have the 4490, which has 210 horsepower, the 2470 with 212 horsepower, the 2670 with 243 horsepower, and the big one, the 2870 with 300 horsepower. These all have the same options. We can do Trelleborg tires, Michelin tires, Continental tires, Midas tires, Birdstein tires. Then we have a couple different wheel setup options. So standard, twin wheels, wide tires 2, double wide tires 2, wide tires 3, double wide tires 3, wide tires 4, double wide tires 4. So you get where we're going? So just a bunch of different tire options, including narrows, which look hilarious on. Then we have some window tint colors. So none, smoked, light black, black dark, or none again. Wheel weights, 400 kilograms, 800 kilograms, or 1200 kilograms. Then we have beacon lights, no, left side, right side, all sides, and front weights. We can do a 1,000 kilogram front weight on it. And this comes stock with a drawbar, 3-point hitch, and PTO. So you can use them for whatever you want in the game. Overall, fairly solid lineup. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Case fan in the world. I've only ever used a couple different Case tractors before they became Case IH. I can't remember what model it was, but I know I used one from the 90s series. It was I don't remember which one it was, but I know I used one of these from the 90s series. It was probably like a 2390 or something like that. And at one point I remember it specifically, a 2470, so one of these big Traction Kings. Other than that, I've never used any of these 70 series tractors. I've seen some of them kicking around still, but I've never actually used one. So experience there is relatively limited. I just know that around here they have a bad reputation. So most of the people I know, most of the farmers I know, I should say, and especially the ones who were farming back in the 80s, were not fans of the Case tractor. Even the ones who are big international fanboys, they don't like Cases. Suddenly they start liking the Case brand a lot more once it gets merged with International, but prior to that they did not like them. They have a reputation for being sloppy, poorly made, bad quality control, all that. But anyway, let's now go through and listen to the sounds, and I can show you some interiors and everything. So we'll just start off with the open cockpit, the 970. So sounds pretty cool. If we look at the interior shot, or I guess just first-person shot, we don't have a tremendous level of detail, but it's good enough that it doesn't bother me. We can see at least all of the stuff shifts, so we can see our clutch gets depressed and our gear shift levers are used. So it's got enough detail for me to be satisfied with the quality there. Then moving on to one of our cabbed options for the 70 series, we'll just go with the 1570. So sounds very, very similar, if not exactly identical. We'll check out the interior now. Like I said, same as before, so it looks pretty much the same level of detail. Obviously, if you go with the CB option, we'll have a CB installed. We get these nice rear view mirrors. All the details are the same, and like I said, it actually uses everything. So, like I said, acceptable level of quality and detail. I've got no complaints. Moving on to our 90 series tractor. I guess I can show you two of them. I'll show you the small one and the big one. They sound exactly the same. Now we can jump into the big from the 90 series. We have the 2590. And just the interior view of this one. So pretty similar to a lot of the earlier ones that I looked at in the series. The level of detail inside is quite a bit lower than I would like. You don't see anything being used inside here. There's no labels for anything. You can't really read anything. Like I said, it's not like it takes me out of it too much. A lot of times in the game, I prefer to go in third person anyway, but yeah, for the 90s series, definitely not as good of a level of detail inside as the 70 series did. But now we can move on to our big horses. So here we have the, like I said, 4490 at the small end, or the 2870 at the large end. And for the interior view, we of course have a much better level of detail than the 90s series did. You can actually read everything. They've even got caution stickers and everything is labeled. I like that. All the side stuff. And again, we're back up to the level where the clutch is used. We're shifting. You can see our throttle goes up on top. All of that is good. I like that for detail. So much better interior than the 90s series. As far as the interesting thing that I talked about before with the big case 4x4s, it makes these very fun to use in the game, is they have crab steering. So you can see it's not articulated. It's a solid, rigid frame tractor. What they do is the tires turn independently of each other. So you can see that when we crank it to the right, our front ones turn and our back ones turn. It gives you a remarkably short turning radius for such a big tractor. It's one of the things that, like I said, makes these a lot of fun to use in the game. And in real life, when they were working, also the same, because look at that. You can turn in an extraordinarily tight circle with that bad boy. I mean, just for reference, let's just hop in the 970 and see what our turning radius is here for this one. I would say fairly comparable, if not a little bit bigger than the great big 4x4. So the crab steering was a cool feature. It's just that case has a problem with quality, and also probably just at the time the technology wasn't quite there. I'm sure if a company wanted to do it nowadays, they could probably make a better version of this. But at the time, it was great while it worked. Like I said, I'll just put it that way. But when it wasn't working, which was most of the time, you were just constantly repairing it because it's a lot of extra mechanical parts to get broken. That being said, for the game, where you don't have to worry about such things, as long as you can take it to the shop and click one button and get it fixed, it is a lot of fun to use these crab steer 4x4s. And, like I said, it's a solid lineup. It's not a crazy amount of tractors. I believe we only have 13 here. Yep, 13. But the range is good. We go all the way from under 100 to 300, so you can actually do pretty much everything you want in the game, and you can do it all looking like an early 80s case user. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, links for all of these mods are in the description. I hope that if you're a case fan, that this will find you well, and I hope if you're an agriculture fan, you will check check out my farming channel. But that's all for today. Thanks a ton for watching and have a nice day. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.